this inverted solar system. Currently, 6 out of the 8 planets rotate around their axes in the same direction in which they move around the Sun. Earth is one of them, but this is only for now. If you think that this will always be so, let's take a look at Venus. The planet is like Earth in mass and gravity. It's sometimes even called the sister of Earth, and at the same time, Venus seems to be turned upside down, rotating in the opposite direction of its movement around the Sun. Billions of years ago, some unknown force turned its axis almost 180 degrees. How did it happen? According to one version of events, this happened because of its proximity to the Sun. It seems to have pulled in a dense Venusian atmosphere. First, Venus' rotation stopped and then started again, but in the other direction. However, if we're talking about planets' axes of rotation, then there's an even more unusual example in the solar system, Uranus. Its axis is tilted almost 98 degrees, so this planet is now lying on its side. Now, let's imagine that something similar happened to Earth. If one morning you saw that the Sun hadn't risen in the east, then something would be wrong with the Earth's axis. At the moment, its angle is 23.5 degrees. It's gradually changing, but within fairly narrow limits. According to one theory, this is due to the Moon. Its gravity keeps our planet's axis from strong oscillations. The current angle of incline is just sufficient for the change of seasons to take place on Earth. Now, imagine that the Moon ceased stabilizing our planet. As a result, fluctuations in the angle of the Earth's axis would become much more significant. They would be between 0 and 85 degrees. An angle of 0 degrees would lead to a complete absence of seasons on the planet. If the angle of Earth's axis approached 85 degrees, our planet would be in the same situation as Uranus is now. It would be a total apocalypse. For almost 6 months of the year, the Sun would be at zenith above each of the poles. The heat would be so strong that all the polar ice would melt almost instantly. Well, on the other hand, the equator would receive less heat. Popular tropical resorts would suffer from cold and snowfall. Because of the melting ice, the level of the world ocean would rise and the water would flood many cities and even entire countries. It seems that this situation is quite out of control, so let's model a more imaginable change to the planet. Suppose that the Earth's axis didn't shift by just 85 degrees, but 180 degrees. Then it would just rotate in the opposite direction. The consequences wouldn't be so terrible, but still significant. As you know, the rotation of the Earth around its axis affects the movement of air masses. With a change in the axis of rotation, trade winds would begin to deviate in a western, not eastern direction. So, what would this lead to? Scientists at the Max Planck Institute for Meteorology have modeled the climate of an inverted Earth. The result is stunning. For example, the Sahara, the largest hot desert on Earth, would turn into a green savanna. Heavy rains would allow dense grasses and shrubs to grow there. At the same time, the southeast coast of the USA would become a real desert. The states of Florida and Georgia would no longer suffer from heavy rains, only from drought and dust storms. On an inverted Earth, residents of Western Europe and Central Europe would face another serious problem. Severe frosts and frequent snowfalls would thoroughly ruin their lives, and Great Britain could turn into a harsh, icy land. It would be as cold there as it is now in Alaska or northern Canada and Russia. It seems it might be better to escape from such an inverted planet. But to where? We could try the Moon. But